My name is Emily. I'm 29, and I used to believe in love the way a child believes in magic. But that version of me, the one who believed in love and forever and him, died the night I found out he kissed her. The woman before me. The woman he swore was long gone from his life. The woman who wasn't even invited to the wedding, but still got a piece of him before I did. And then again, 5 months after I'd already changed my last name. That version of me, the soft, trusting, hopeful version, she's gone. Sometimes I still feel her inside me, whispering things like, maybe it wasn't that bad, or maybe he really is sorry. But then I remember that she tried on wedding dresses the day he was kissing someone else, and I want to scream. This silence between us, it's funny how silence can be louder than shouting. The house feels like a mausoleum now. I pass by him in the hallway like we're strangers renting the same space. He tries to make conversation, asks about school, if I've eaten, but his voice feels distant, like I'm hearing him through a wall. I keep thinking, this man held someone else's hand and walked around a lake 9 days before he vowed to never betray me. What does a vow even mean to a man who lies so easily? What does I do mean when he already had? My friend Rachel, I finally broke down and told one person. My best friend, Rachel. I hadn't planned to. I was on my lunch break at the hospital and called her because I couldn't stop crying in the break room. I could barely get the words out. He cheated, I said. What? Before the wedding, after two. He kissed her, held her hand, lied about everything. There was silence on the line, and then, OM. And that's when I cried, ugly, heaving sobs, because finally someone else knew. Finally, it wasn't just me holding the weight of it. I don't know what to do, I whispered. He's the only one working right now. I'm in school. I don't have a place to go. I don't even know if I want to leave. Isn't that pathetic? No, she said firmly. It's not pathetic. You're in shock. You're grieving something real, and you don't have to make any decisions today. I loved him so much, I said. I built my life around him. I know, but you also get to rebuild, on your terms this time. The twist I didn't expect that night, I opened his laptop. I wasn't proud of it, but I couldn't stop thinking, if he lied about this, what else? The password was the same, our dog's name and our anniversary. I opened his email. And there it was, an archived thread from over a year ago, from her, the woman he kissed. Her, I can't believe you still want to do this. You're a married man now. Him, it's not that simple. I don't even know who I am anymore. That line, I don't even know who I am anymore. What does that even mean? He knew enough to take off his wedding ring. He knew enough to lie to my face. He knew enough to make sure I never found out. I closed the laptop and sat on the floor in our bedroom. Our wedding album was on the shelf across from me. I stared at the cover. I remember picking it out because it had gold trim and looked elegant. Now it just looked like a prop in a play I didn't know I was auditioning for. That night when he came to bed, I was already under the covers, facing the wall. He slid in beside me. We hadn't touched in days. Not even an accidental brush of fingertips. I know you hate me, he said quietly. I don't hate you, I whispered back. I hate what you did. I hate that I loved you more than you deserved. He was silent for a moment. Then, do you want me to leave? I turned over, looked him in the eyes, and asked the question that had been haunting me. If she had said yes to sleeping with you, would you have done it? He looked stunned, then ashamed. I don't know. My heart shattered all over again. So that's a yes. No, he said quickly. No, I mean, God, Emily, I don't want that to be true. But if I'm being honest, maybe. I nodded slowly, like I hadn't just heard my husband say he would have slept with another woman if she had said yes. I turned back to the wall and whispered, then go. The ending that wasn't, but he didn't leave. He stayed, on the floor, with his head against the bed frame. He cried again, and I stared at the wall, feeling like a ghost of myself. This wasn't the end. Not yet. But it wasn't the beginning either. It was the aching middle, the place where pain lives, where decisions fester, where love and anger coexist like oil and water. Somewhere inside me, a question was growing. Not do I still love him? But do I still love myself enough to walk away? I've started talking to the version of me that existed before the wedding. She's a ghost now, one that haunts my memories. I see her sometimes in the mirror, smiling in a white dress, looking into a future that didn't exist. I want to warn her. I want to scream, run, but I also envy her, because she didn't know yet. And not knowing was a kind of peace I didn't realize I had. The morning after he didn't leave, he slept on the floor. I thought that might give me some sense of relief. It didn't. It just made me feel like I was staring at the ruins of something I spent years building. When I got up, he was still curled on the carpet. His eyes opened the second I moved. He sat up quickly, like he thought maybe I'd changed my mind overnight and would forgive him. "Do you want coffee?" he asked gently. "No," I said. "I can make breakfast. Don't. Please don't." It wasn't the food. It was the normalcy. I couldn't pretend. Not today. Therapy begins. Rachel found me a therapist, someone who specialized in betrayal trauma. The office smelled like lavender and coffee. Soft music played in the background. It was all supposed to make me feel safe. But my nerves were so loud I could barely hear anything else. Her name was Dr. Eleanor Hart. She didn't ask me to tell the whole story in one sitting. Instead, she asked, "What made you come here today?" I stared at my hands. "He lied," I said. Over and over. And when I found out, it felt like someone reached into my chest and cracked my ribs open. Her eyes didn't flinch. Betrayal feels like a death. I looked up at her. "Yes, but he's not dead. He's still in my house, still making coffee, still breathing." She nodded. That's the cruel part. When the person who hurt you is still alive, but the version of them you loved no longer exists. I broke. Right there in her office, I sobbed like a child. Confrontation, I told him I was going to therapy. He looked relieved. "That's good. I think that's really good, Em. I'm not doing it for you," I said. He nodded. "I know." But he didn't. Not really. That night, I asked him a question I hadn't dared ask before. What if she had wanted more? He looked down. "I don't know." There it was again. I don't know. I was beginning to realize how dangerous those words were. Not because he was uncertain, because he was never sure of anything, except how to lie. The discovery a few days later, I couldn't sleep. My chest felt tight, like something was unfinished, unsaid, hidden. So I checked the attic. I don't even know why. Just something told me to. In an old shoebox, buried beneath childhood Christmas decorations and college notebooks, I found it, a handwritten letter, dated 10 days after our wedding, addressed to her. "I don't know what I've done. I thought marrying Emily would make these feelings go away, but they didn't. I still think about you. Every day. I still wonder what would have happened if we had stayed together instead." I couldn't breathe. This wasn't before the wedding. This was after. After he looked me in the eye and said, "I do." After he kissed me and told me I was his forever. I dropped the letter. Everything in me shook. The breakdown, he found me in the kitchen. I was on the floor, knees to chest, holding that letter like it was a live grenade. He froze. "Emily?" I held it up. My hands trembled. "What is this?" His face drained of color. "Where did you wrote her a love letter 10 days after our wedding?" His hands went to his head. "I didn't send it. I swear, I never sent it." "That doesn't matter," I screamed. "You meant it. Every word." He knelt beside me. I was confused. You weren't confused. You were married. The sound that came out of me didn't sound human. I was sobbing and screaming all at once. My throat burned. He reached for me, and I backed away like he was a monster. No, don't touch me. I don't know you. I don't even know who I married. The question I didn't want to ask that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. He was downstairs, maybe crying again, maybe writing another letter he'd never send. I didn't care. All I could think was, why wasn't I enough? I know I'm not perfect. I know I've made mistakes, but I was loyal. I believed in us. I chose him, even when it wasn't easy. I carried the emotional weight of this marriage like it was my job. And still, he went to her. He wrote to her, 10 days after promising the rest of his life to me. The quiet plan I didn't tell him, but something inside me had shifted. I started saving money. Quietly, a little at a time. I made a second email. 4 apartment listings, 4 jobs. It wasn't a decision yet. It was just a seed. But even a seed has roots. And mine were growing. Because I finally realized something I hadn't let myself admit before. He didn't destroy our marriage in one moment. He eroded it over time. With every lie. With every hand held that wasn't mine. With every truth he chose not to tell me. And I wasn't going to die in the ruins. I used to believe silence was peaceful. Now it's a war zone, loud in all the ways that rip through your soul. It's been 3 days since I confronted Eric with the full truth of what I discovered. 3 days since I saw his face crumble under the weight of guilt. 3 days since I told him, I don't know who you are anymore. He's still in the house, but we're living like strangers. Not even the polite kind. We pass each other like ghosts. He sits on the edge of the bed at night while I curl up on the far side, wrapped in blankets, pretending the distance protects me, but it doesn't. The morning after I woke up that morning to the smell of coffee, for a second, just a second, I forgot everything. I thought, he's making my coffee the way I like it. Cinnamon and oat milk, just the way he used to when he loved me properly. But when I entered the kitchen, I saw 2 mugs. One plain, black coffee. His. He didn't make mine. I stood in the doorway, watching him sip from the mug like nothing had shattered us. Like 9 days before our wedding never happened. Like 5 months after our vows didn't exist. Did you sleep at all? I asked, my voice hoarse. He didn't look up. A little. Must be nice. He flinched. I saw it. But he still wouldn't meet my eyes. A flashback I didn't ask for. Sometimes betrayal doesn't come in the form of loud fights or screaming accusations. Sometimes it comes in the form of a memory, uninvited, vicious. I remembered how he looked at me the night before our wedding. We were laughing in bed, tangled in sheets, my veil hanging from the closet door. He kissed my forehead and whispered, I can't wait to call you my wife tomorrow. But he had already kissed her. 9 days before, he had already held her hand. He had already lied. Was it guilt that made him hold me tighter that night? Or fear that I'd find out? The talk we never should have had later that evening, he sat down across from me at the kitchen table. No words at first. Just the hum of the refrigerator and the clinking of his wedding ring as he spun it on the table like it was some game. You haven't worn your ring in 3 days, he said quietly. I stared at him. Neither did you, when you were with her. He stopped spinning the ring. Finally, he looked at me. I was stupid. I told you that. I didn't sleep with her. It didn't go that far. That far? I whispered. Do you even hear yourself? It went far enough. You were engaged to me, Eric, 9 days before our wedding. You kissed another woman. You told her you weren't married. You took off your ring. That is far. His voice cracked. I don't know what's wrong with me. I keep trying to find an answer, and there isn't one. I sabotaged everything. I think I was scared. I think I was chasing some version of control or attention. I don't know. You lied to me for nearly 2 years, I whispered, tears threatening to fall again. You made me think I was crazy when I asked about her. You swore on your children's lives, Eric. He hung his head. You said that to protect us, I continued, choking on the words. But what kind of protection is that when it's built on lies? The ring box that night, I found our wedding ring box in the back of the closet. I sat on the floor with it in my lap like a coffin of memories. The ribbon was still inside, the same one he tied around my finger as a joke the morning after we got married, when we couldn't find my actual ring. Now you're officially mine, he said, grinning. But I was never just his, was I? There was always someone else in the shadows, and I didn't even know. Twist. The email at 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep again. So I opened my laptop to distract myself with schoolwork, but something told me to check the email we used to share. An old joint account we hadn't used in a while. I opened it, and there it was. An email from her. From that woman. Subject, you should know everything. My chest tightened as I hovered over the message. I clicked. It was long. She wrote that she didn't know he was married. He told her he was single. Said we had broken up months before. She said the kiss meant something to her until she found out the truth later when she saw our wedding photos through a mutual friend. She said she felt used. Betrayed. Not just by him, but by herself. She ended it with, if I were you, I'd be asking what else he's lied about. If he lied to me, to you, and to himself, how do you know where the truth even begins? I didn't cry. I just closed the laptop. The cracking point the next morning, I confronted him. You told her we weren't together. He looked up from the couch, confused. What? She emailed. She told me everything. His face went white. I waited, but he said nothing. Say something, I begged. Tell me it's not true. Tell me she's lying. He didn't, and in that moment, I knew. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. I wasn't asking too many questions. I had just fallen in love with someone who made betrayal look like love. The last line of the chapter, I didn't sleep in the same bed that night. I didn't even stay in the same room. I laid on the couch, my ring on the table next to me. The silence wasn't peaceful, but for the first time, it was honest. And maybe that was the first step toward whatever came next, even if I still didn't know what that was. To be continued in Chapter 6, the mirror doesn't lie, a new truth comes to light. A friend confronts her, a decision looms, and a secret from Eric's past resurfaces, one that may change everything. But now I stare into them too long. I'm trying to find her, the woman I was before I found out who my husband really is. And every time I look, she feels farther away. 3 days after the email, it's been 3 days since I read her email. The woman he kissed, the one he held hands with, the one he told he was single. 3 days since the truth stopped being a puzzle and became a wall. I had all the pieces, and it still crushed me. Eric tried to talk to me again. He came into the kitchen while I was chopping vegetables like it was just another Wednesday. I saw you didn't eat much yesterday. I didn't even turn around. Funny. I've had no appetite since I found out you were pretending I didn't exist while you were with her. He exhaled hard. Please, I turned. No, not please. Don't please me. You've used every version of please in the book. Please forgive me. Please believe me. Please don't leave me. But you never once said, please don't hurt me again. His shoulders dropped like I'd punched him, but I wasn't sorry, because I was finally saying what I needed to say. The mirror scene that night, I stood in front of the mirror in our bedroom. I don't know why I did it. Some cruel act of curiosity, maybe. I wore the same robe I wore on our wedding night. It used to feel beautiful. Now it felt like a lie draped in silk. I looked at myself and whispered, what did he see in her that he didn't see in me? And I hated that question. I hated it because I knew it wasn't about her. It was about him. Because no matter how beautiful or loyal or honest I was, he was going to break something. Because broken people who refuse to heal don't build. They wreck. Twist. The friend's warning the next day, I received a message from my oldest friend, Leah. We hadn't spoken in months. She had moved to Chicago and had always had mixed feelings about Eric. The message read, "Hey, I know things must be hard right now. I didn't want to get in the middle. But there's something I didn't tell you before. I feel like I should now. Call me when you can." I called her that night. My hands shook as I held the phone. Leah didn't waste time. "I didn't tell you this earlier because I didn't think it was my place. But a few months before your wedding, I saw Eric on a dating app." I nearly dropped the phone. "I thought it was an old profile," she continued. "I messaged it to see if he'd say something. He didn't respond, so I thought maybe it was a mistake or a joke. I didn't want to ruin things." "But it wasn't a joke," I whispered. "No, I'm sorry." I sat on the bathroom floor, phone to my ear, robe clutched around me like armor I no longer had. Lee's voice softened. "Sweetheart, I didn't know how bad it was, but now that I do, please don't think staying means saving." "What if leaving means breaking?" I asked, my voice cracking. "Then let it break," she said. "Sometimes you have to destroy the lie to protect the truth." Eric's breakdown that night, Eric cried. Not just tears, collapsed on the floor cried. "I don't know why I am the way I am," he whispered, kneeling in front of me. "I never meant to hurt you. I love you. I love you more than I love myself." I looked down at him. The man I married, the man who tore me apart. "Then why did you protect the lie more than the person?" He shook his head. "Because I didn't want to lose you. And somehow, I lost myself instead." There was silence. Heavy. Dangerous. I whispered, "You lost me the moment you took off that ring and pretended I didn't exist." Final scene, the letter that night, I did something I hadn't done since this all began. I wrote, not a text, not a message, a letter to myself. "Dear me, I'm sorry you thought you were safe. I'm sorry you believed words over actions. I'm sorry you let love convince you to ignore your gut. But I'm proud of you for surviving heartbreak in slow motion, for choosing truth over comfort, for still choosing to be soft in a world that has made you hard. You don't have to decide tonight, but whatever you choose, you deserve peace, even if it means walking away from everything you once prayed for. Love." Me, I placed the letter in the drawer next to my ring. "One day, I'll pick one of them up again. But not tonight." Tonight, I needed to sleep in my own truth, even if it was cold, even if it was lonely. Because at least now, the mirror didn't lie anymore. I used to think the worst pain came from betrayal, but I was wrong. The worst pain is having to live with it, seeing his face every day, brushing my teeth next to the man who once swore on his children's lives just to make me believe a lie. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened next. The knock, it was a gray, slow-burning Sunday morning. Eric had left early to run errands, or so he said. I didn't ask anymore. I didn't want to know. Knowing felt like poison lately. I needed just 1 hour of not dissecting memories or wondering if I'd been made a fool of for longer than I realized. That's when I heard it. A knock at the door. 3 short taps. Confident. Steady. I thought maybe it was a neighbor or a package. But when I opened the door, it was her. Her. The woman whose name I had seen in those messages. The woman who kissed my husband 9 days before our wedding, and again 5 months after. The woman who knew he had feelings for her, but didn't know he had a wife. She stood there in jeans and a soft navy sweater. No makeup. Wind-blown hair. Her eyes carried something I recognized, guilt. "Hi," she said softly, shifting her weight. "You don't know me." "Yes, I do." I didn't invite her in. I didn't need to. I stepped out onto the porch and shut the door behind me. "The conversation, I'm sorry for showing up," she began, looking down. I've rehearsed this about 20 times in the car. I didn't even know if I should, but I needed to look you in the eyes and say this. I didn't speak. I didn't know he was married, she said, her voice cracking. He never told me. Not once. I stared at her. I wanted to hate her, but I didn't, because I saw it, the devastation in her expression. She was another woman caught in his web. She continued. After he met up with me the second time at the lake, I found out through mutual friends that he'd gotten married months earlier. I confronted him. He said he had separated, but it was complicated. He even said you didn't want kids, and he did. I gasped. My knees went weak. That was the cruelest twist yet. We'd been trying. I had even suffered a miscarriage 4 months into our marriage, and he knew how much it had broken me. He said I didn't want kids. I said, voice hollow. Yes, she whispered. I didn't believe him. That's when I cut things off for good. But lately, I've been haunted by guilt because I didn't know the whole story then, and I couldn't stop thinking, if I were you, I'd want to know. I sat on the porch step, numb. She sat beside me, a respectful distance away. She turned to me and whispered, he didn't just cheat on you with his body. He cheated with his words. He painted a version of you that didn't exist so he could excuse what he was doing. Flashback, the miscarriage as she spoke, my mind betrayed me with memory. I remembered the hospital room, the 4 in my arm, Eric holding my hand, or at least I thought he was holding it out of love. Now I wondered if it was guilt. Was he already dreaming of another woman as I bled out the child we'd made? That pain, it crushed me from the inside out. I wrapped my arms around myself as if I could hold together the version of me that had just cracked again. She leaves something behind after 20 minutes, she stood. I know I've said a lot. I'm sorry if I added to your pain. I didn't want to carry this anymore. I hope you find peace. Whatever that looks like. She handed me something before walking down the steps. It was a small, black velvet pouch. I opened it. Inside was Eric's wedding ring, the same one he took off before seeing her. The same one I had never noticed was missing because he always made sure to put it back on before he came home. I stared at it. Cold, heavy, meaningless. Eric returns later that night. Eric walked through the door. I was standing in the kitchen, holding the velvet pouch. He looked at me like nothing was wrong. Hey babe, they were out of almond milk, so I got the oat one you like. Traffic was insane. I held up the pouch. He froze, eyes locked on the thing he'd thought would stay buried forever. I didn't say a word. I just held it out and dropped it to the floor between us. Clink. He bent to pick it up, but I stopped him with a whisper, leave it. That doesn't belong to you anymore. He looked up, voice trembling. What did she tell you? Everything, I said, my voice calm in a way that scared even me. But not just about you. She told me who I had become trying to love someone like you. Ending scene, the bedroom that night. I slept in the guest room. Not because he asked, but because I needed distance from the man who wore his ring like a costume. I wrote again in my journal. It's funny. The person I thought would destroy me didn't. He just revealed how much I'd already lost of myself. But maybe that's the point. Maybe destruction is how rebirth begins. Maybe I'm not breaking down. Maybe I'm waking up. And just like that, I knew the story wasn't ending. It was only just beginning. It's been almost a year since I found out the full truth. A year since the final confrontation, the last time I saw the man I once called my husband cry on his knees and swear he'd be different. A year since I believed anything he said. A year of rebuilding from the ashes, of waking up in the middle of the night drenched in tears I didn't even know I was crying, of losing my appetite, of watching old dreams die. But it's also been a year of growth. The first day I woke up without checking if he had texted me, I cried. Not because I missed him, but because I didn't. That was new and terrifying and liberating. I moved out 3 months after I found out everything. I remember sitting on the floor of my new apartment, alone, surrounded by boxes and silence, and thinking, this is the loneliest I've ever felt. But in that stillness, I also realized I was finally safe. Safe from lies, manipulation, and betrayal dressed as love. He tried to win me back for months. Cards, emails, long messages at midnight about how therapy was changing him, how he now understood his childhood wounds, how I was his anchor. But anchors weigh you down too, don't they? He didn't love me. Not truly. He loved what I made him feel about himself. And the moment his ego was bruised, he went running to women who would stroke it for him. It wasn't about sex. It was about control. He said I took off my ring, but I never stopped loving you. I said, you took off your ring. That's all I needed to know. He told me he swore on his children's lives to protect us. I asked, do you think love is protected by lies? He didn't answer. And in that silence, I finally heard the truth. I finished nursing school in April. I walked the stage in a white uniform with a pin on my chest and my hands shaking. I did it without him in the crowd, and I felt more supported than ever. My parents cried, my sister flew in, and my friends, God, my beautiful, fierce friends, held up signs that said, you did it, Alina. Because I did. I now work in the ER. Life moves fast in those sterile white halls. People come in broken, bleeding, breathless. Some leave whole, some don't. But I always try to look them in the eyes and say, you're not alone. Because for too long, I thought I was. A few months ago, I ran into his ex, the one he cheated on me with. She looked at me. I looked at her. Neither of us said anything for a long time. Then she said, I didn't know. About you. About the wedding. I nodded. I didn't either. Not until it was too late. Not until it was too late. She looked genuinely sorry. Maybe she was. Maybe she wasn't. But it didn't matter anymore. She was just a woman, like me, pulled into the orbit of a man who couldn't love without wounding. I walked away from that conversation feeling something I never expected: peace. If you're reading this, and you're where I was, broken, gaslit, hollow, I want to tell you something. You will heal. Maybe not today. Maybe not next month. But you will. You'll walk into a room and forget to wonder if he's thinking about you. You'll laugh without feeling guilty. You'll decorate your own apartment in colors you like, not colors you compromised on. You'll meet people who see your worth without needing you to shrink. You'll kiss someone someday, and you won't wonder if they're thinking of someone else. You'll trust again, not because the world is perfect, but because you are whole. I'm not the woman who got cheated on anymore. I'm the woman who left, who cried, who bled, who stitched herself back together and called it beautiful. My name is Alina, and this is not the end of my story. It's the beginning.